Hello friends, welcome to this yin practice. We're going to work through the whole body today. We're going to do some work on the hips. We're going to open through our back. We're even going to get our shoulders into the action. This is all designed to bring more mobility into your body and into your life. So let's start by settling in. As you can see, I'm sitting crisscross and I like to sit on something, and I have a nice bolster. You could also sit on a block or a cushion from your couch. No need to get any special equipment to be able to practice with me. Things you do want handy though are going to be that cushion or a pillow. If you have a block or maybe one or two thick books would be great. And we are going to work through the shoulders, so I like to use a bandana here. If you have a yoga strap, that works good too. But nothing fancy, just make sure you have what you need. And of course, you always work to your own level and your own ability. So let's start to settle in. I'm crisscross, having my hips above my knees just for circulation purposes. You could also sit hips to heels if that's more open to your body. You could sit on a block and create the same thing. Wherever you decide, we'll just begin to settle down into our sit bones. Arriving here on the mat, letting all the worries of the day just kind of float away and be here now. Give yourself this time to really allow yourself to go deep into your body, really start to feel the sensations, and really begin to make friends and get curious and become an observer of who you are from the inside out. So now that we're settled in, we'll take an inhale, elongating up through our spine. Our shoulders will come up towards our ears. And as we exhale, they'll round back and down. Our hands will come to rest on our knees, thighs, or in your lap. And then tuck your chin just slightly so the back of the neck is nice and long. And then we'll bring our attention to the tip of our nose, noticing that cool air as it travels in, and the warmer air as it falls out. Just starting to make observations here, noticing where your breath is naturally wanting to flow through your body. Maybe equally starting to notice those places that feel maybe a little rigid, a little tense, maybe need a little extra guidance and attention from your breath today. Try not to make any judgment here. We're just making observation about how we feel showing up today on our mat. And on your next inhale, start to follow your breath down through the back of your throat, through your chest cavity, deep into your belly, letting your belly balloon out nice and big. And then as you exhale, start to hug your navel back towards your spine as the air travels up and back out. Just getting used to doing this for a few rounds, breathing deep into your belly as it expands, and exhaling as it just naturally glides back. Try to do this breathing in and out through your nose for now. And if that's unavailable to you today, then in through the nose, out through the mouth. And we'll start to bring our breath and tune together. We're going to breathe in a triangle. So we'll inhale to the count of 4. Just hold slightly at the top for the count of 2. And then we'll exhale to the count of 6. During this breath pattern, it will be in through the nose, out through the mouth, like you're blowing through a straw. Let's do it all together. Wherever you are, go ahead and exhale. Seal off your lips. And inhale into the belly for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold here at the top for 1, 2. And exhale, pursed lips for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do it again. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Your belly's nice and big. Holding for 1, 2. And exhaling for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Empty here at the bottom. Let's go again. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding, 1, 2. And exhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 1, 2. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do 2 more. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 1, 2. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last round. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 1, 2. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just go back to your natural rhythm. Keep your eyes soft and just notice what's happening in your body already. Some openings starting to happen. You're getting more in tune with the more subtle aspects of yourself. And keeping your breath as you can deep into your belly as we move through practice today. Let's go ahead and set up for our first pose of butterfly. So you can move yourself off of any support behind you. Just bring the soles of your feet in front of you and let your knees bow out to the side. Now, if this feels like you're doing a lot of rounding, then maybe you do want to sit on something. You could roll up a yoga mat or bolsters too much, but if you have a little pillow, you could sit on that as well. And I want you to take your fists and I want you to do 1, 2, 3, 4 fists between your groin and your heels. It can be longer than that especially if your knees are really up, but I want us to avoid this tendency to bring our heels really close to our groin. We're really working on getting a nice rotation of the hips here. If you're feeling any tense in your knees, you could also place support underneath your knees with a pillow or a block, just so they feel supported. Once you're set up, hinge from the hips, start to round your back, hands come to rest, palms face up, and just drop your chin, hanging heavy. Now you do have an option too with a block if you have one. You could set it either on your feet or just inside to rest your head on if that feels inviting for you. If you're not coming forward very much at all and you have a bolster, you can rest that between your feet and your head just to give you some leverage, something to release down onto as we begin to very naturally and very subtly open up through our body. And wherever you are, commit to being there. And I'm going to go through the principles of yin just to get us on the same page. There are 3 principles. The first one is what you've just done. It's finding your edge, finding that first stopping point for you, where your body naturally unfolds to and stops. Once you find this, you observe what's happening, make any adjustments, and we're working beyond our muscular system here. We're working to get into the deep fascial tissues of the body. So we want to make sure we're observing our body and releasing any tension through our muscles. We do this by using our breath, listening to the breath, inhaling. And as you exhale, just unburden anywhere you can, just starting to release a little more, melting into the pose. Gravity is your friend here. We have a tendency to want to do too much, to push, to pull. And I just invite you to do less. Just allow your body to be where it is, accept where you're at, and know that you're working on moving forward, finding that mobility first. We don't want any injuries. We come to the mat to heal ourselves, not harm ourselves. So you find that place. If you tend to grip with your hands in this pose, I invite you to really allow them to lay palm face up. This prevents you from doing anything to stretch your body forward. The second principle of yin is stillness. So once you've found this place where you're feeling something, you commit to being there. You're still in the moment. and you use your breath. And when you feel that urge to move, you're feeling jittery, you're feeling like it's time, I can't sit still, use your breath to keep you in the moment. Now the exception here is if there's anything electrical, sharp shooting, then you want to back off a little bit. Find where you can use the support. Bring the floor to meet you by using your props. The other exception is if your body naturally opens, which it tends to do at about 90 seconds of breathing into a pose. You might find yourself falling further into the pose. You might feel your knees go out a little further, and that's perfectly fine. Just allow your body to do what it does. The third principle is time. So every pose is going to be held today roughly 3 to 5 minutes. I'm going to be talking you through some of it, and I'm going to give you some time on your own just to breathe into the pose. At the end of each pose, we'll do 3 final breaths together. This is just a way to help us move into the deepest expression of that pose. And again, we will use our breath, inhaling, and then longer exhale. And as you exhale, just let it out. Let's try it together right here, right now, before we move. Take a nice full inhale and open mouth. Inhale, open mouth. Final time. Inhale and open mouth. You can push your hands into the mat, starting to straighten your arms, walking closer to your body, coming up your spine, 1 vertebrae at a time, using your hands to guide those knees together. It might feel good to rest your arms behind you, feet go out to the side, and just drop your knees from one side to the next, just loosening up in between the poses here. Then we're going to flip around into a tabletop position. Having your support handy, just going to come to this tabletop, so it'll be your wrists and your shoulders in a line, and also your knees and your hips in a line. And once you're there, go ahead and do any kind of movement again that feels supportive for your body. Just kind of getting any wiggles out in between the poses. You have the freedom to move so that when we get into the pose, we really commit to this stillness. So I'm going to show you this from a couple of different angles. First, from this side here. We're going to just glide our right knee up right next to our right hand. Then we're going to take our right foot and we're going to start to bring it up, rotating through the hips up towards our left hand. Now, there is this tendency here where people feel like their pose is better the closer that their foot is to the hand. That's not necessarily true. For me, naturally, my foot wants to be back, so I'm going to let it, okay? So staying where you are, that back foot, you're just going to release down onto the ground. So you want to start to wiggle through your hips, finding balance here. Now, if this already feels like too much, you could take some books or a block and you could prop it right under your hip, helping you to find a little bit of balance here between your hips. If that's too much for you, you can release it down. If you're feeling pressure on that back knee, again, you could take some sort of cushion and put it under, just so you're not getting that bone to mat pressure. So wherever that is for you, you have a couple options. We're going to keep our hands pressing into the floor and our arms nice and long, letting our shoulders move away from our ears. What's happening here is we're getting a nice rotation of this right hip, and we're getting a beautiful extension through our back leg, really working to get into that hip flexor, the psoas. Soften your gaze and find your breath. Now this gets pretty intense pretty fast, so I'm just going to have you breathe here. You can, if you want a little more intensity, you just start bringing your arms back closer and closer to your hips. Some people might even be able to comfortably hold them behind. You can come a little forward if you need a little less intensity. Find that place for you. Commit to being there. Then notice what you notice. Feel what you feel. And with every inhale, create space within your body, breathing into the sensation. And with every exhale, you're just melting further in. Again, you're allowing gravity to get you into the pose, getting into your hips here. Pay attention to your breath. We never want to lose control of our breath. Our breath is a good guide. If you feel yourself struggling to breathe here, maybe it's an indicator to come forward just a little bit. And the more intensity you feel in a pose, usually a sign that the more you need that kind of stretch. But it's really important that you also are able to identify this difference between discomfort in the body and pain in the body. Let's go ahead and do our 3 final breaths here. Again, it's in through the nose, out through the mouth. We'll do them together. And again, just allow yourself to melt. This is finding your final expression here. Inhaling deeply. And exhale, open mouth. Inhale. Open mouth. One more time, deep inhale. And open mouth. Now to come out of this pose, stay where you're at. I'm just going to move sideways so you can see me. Go ahead and remove any support from under that right bum. We're going to release down into the right side and reach around and bring that left leg all the way around your body, letting the sole of the foot come to rest on the outside of your right knee here, and then give yourself a nice squeeze. Let your neck be long. Let your whole spine be straight. Squeeze in here. Good. Now we're going to start to walk heel toe this left knee right on top of our right. I like to come forward and do a little wiggle, making sure my hips are firmly placed on the ground here. Now, if this isn't available to you, you can always sit on a block or a bolster, guiding you up a little bit, especially if you have sciatic trouble. That's a good alternative for you. And not everyone's going to be able to stack their knees. That's the goal we're going for here. But some people might find themselves like this. You can always put support under your knee, in between your knees. If you're way over here on the side of your knee, finding again that place where you can start to release through the muscle. and really getting into those deep fascial tissues, starting to stretch nice and deeply. Once you find that place, you're welcome to stay tall and find your breath, or you can come forward onto a cushion, onto a block. The reason I like blocks so much is there's different levels you can do, so you can really find the one that works for you. For some people, you might be able to come all the way down to the mat and just let your head hang heavy, resting. You want to be careful as you come forward. We don't want to move the weight from our hips into our knees. We never want to cause any extra strain on the knees. So it's really about finding that position for you. Maybe think like 70%, where you can just be, again, never compromising our breath, releasing where you can, connecting to your breath. It's very natural, very common for thoughts to take us away from the pose. Just guide it back to your breath, back to this moment. And those 3 final breaths we do are always available to you if you're feeling really tense or really tight in any of these poses. That breath work is really going to support you. It's going to help open your body up. So feel free to breathe like that the whole time if that makes it more accessible to you. You're at home, no one's hearing you. And as you move through the poses, you might, like I said, feel your body really start to open up. So if that's the case, you could always adjust your support to help guide you maybe 10% further, deeper into the pose. And there's no hierarchy to these poses. Coming forward isn't any better than staying upright. It's finding what works for you. We'll go ahead and take those 3 final breaths, taking a nice deep inhale, open mouth, inhale, open mouth, final time, inhale, and open mouth. If you've come forward, you're going to bring your hands down by your hips, start to press to straight arms, walking up your spine. Once you're there, move any support off to the side. You could use your hands to help guide your legs apart here. And then we're going to flip back around into that tabletop position. So again, once we're here, we'll take some time to just roll through our hips a little bit. Maybe dropping your shoulders. It might feel good to reach one leg back and the other leg back. Just anything that feels good movement for you. And we'll do the whole series again on the other side. So it will be this left knee that just comes up right behind your left hand and then rotating through your hips, bringing that left foot forward. So you see mine doesn't come forward that much, and that's okay. Tucking that back toe under and starting to walk it away from you, dropping your hips down. Your hips begin to melt. Again, if you want support, this time under the right glute, you could do that. Finding balance. We want to make sure our hips are nice and even Always using support when it feels right for you. We'll begin to find that arm placement that works for us. Again, I like to wiggle through my hips just slightly, making sure they're in good alignment, pushing through my hands, drawing my shoulders away from my ears. My gaze is soft. My breath is steady. And then I become an observer of what is happening in the pose. Again, I'm getting this beautiful extension of my back leg. If it's too much, you come forward ever so slightly. Otherwise, you can stay upright. You might find it feels very different on one side compared to the other. This right hip tends to be my tighter hip, so I tend to notice it a lot more. This is where you just become an observer of the experience, noticing the tension. And with every inhale, breathing right into the sensation. And then as you exhale, just soften around the edges, letting go where you can, unburdening. And any thoughts about what's happening, any stories that you're telling yourself about what you can and can't do, just be an observer of them. Acknowledge that they're there. And continue to bring the focus back to the breath. We'll go ahead and do those 3 final breaths together, nice and slow and no rush. Inhaling through the nose and open mouth. Inhale through the nose and open mouth. Last time, inhale and open mouth. Good. If you have any support under your left bum, go ahead and remove it, and we'll plop down onto that side. This time it'll be our right leg. Oh, with joy, sweeps all the way around. It turns so I'm facing you. And come to rest on the outside, wrapping your hands around and squeezing that leg in. Spine is straight, back is long, all the way through the neck. And we'll begin to walk that foot back, lowering your knees one on top of each other here. Doing a little wiggle. Again, sitting on something, especially if you have that sciatic trouble. We don't want to irritate our body here. We're looking to find mobility and length in there. And you might notice this side, again, very different, placing support anywhere you need. Another alternative gives you a nice hamstring stretch is to let the bottom leg just go long. This just adds a nice hamstring stretch. You're still getting all the benefits. So if that works for you, sometimes that makes it a little more accessible. It's a little bit of a different stretch, but you get that hamstring in there. What you don't get when you're just in shoelace like this. So you're welcome to stay upright or begin to come forward onto that block or bolster, releasing your head down and becoming an observer of your experience. Slow, sustained pressure helps us to become more durable. And if you have any strong exercise program, whether it be yoga, running, swimming, gymnastics, stretching is essential. And we so very often forget to do even warm-ups and cool downs during a workout. And this is just, our body gets super tight. Also, our lifestyle tends to tighten us up. And so when we come into our yin practice, we have this beautiful opportunity to really get into these deep tissues. And sometimes it can be very emotional. It's a very simple practice, but simple does not mean easy. So just allow your experience to be. And again, it's not what you used to be able to do 10 or 15 years ago. It's where you're at today. And maybe it looks different than when you were on the mat even a week ago. And that's okay. And just be there, be with it as best you can, connecting to your breath. Let's go ahead and take those final breaths on this side, taking a nice deep inhale. Open mouth. Inhale. Open mouth. Inhale. Open mouth. If you've come forward, move any support off to the side, pushing through your hands back up to a straight back. You can use your hands to help guide your legs apart. Maybe stretch them out forward. Just any kind of movement here. We're going to give our hips a rest for a little bit. We've done some great work and we're going to get into our shoulders. So we're going to start by taking a block or a cushion and bringing it right in between our legs, down by your heels, and sitting onto it. And again, why I love these blocks so much is they have different settings that you can go to. You could also do this with a cushion as well. Just kind of notice how this is. We're going to be here for about 5 minutes. So we really want to make sure we're in a place where this feels very comfortable. No strain on our knees at all. Now, if this is, finding that place is fine for you, the other option, if it's in your practice, is to remove the block and just wiggle your hips right in between your legs. So you have your heels are even with your hips here. Your legs can be a little apart, a little together. It's whatever feels comfortable for you. This can get pretty intense on the ankles and cause pressure in the knees. For some people, this feels very accessible. For me, I'm fine like this, but in 5 minutes, this will not be. And I don't want this to be the focus of the pose. This is just a seated stance. So I'm going to stay on a block. If you have a yoga strap, now would be the time to grab it. This is a deep shoulder extension and flexion. So I just take a towel, hand towel is fine. I have a bandana here. I'm going to take it in my right hand. And I'm just going to bring my right hand out to the side. I'm going to swoosh it around my body and over so it's behind, bending my elbow behind me. My left hand I'm going to bring out to the side. I'm going to put that thumb down and I'm going to bend it behind my back, grabbing the other side of that hand towel. I'll give you a backward glance at this in a moment, and then you could start to walk your hands closer and closer together. So if you got that, great. Otherwise, I'm going to turn around so I can show you what it looks like from the back. So again, you'll have this hand out, swoosh it around, out, thumb goes down, come to the back, and then you start to wiggle your hands together. Maybe your fingers come to touching, and if they do, you can clasp them together. But this is pretty intense, so go to your own level here. So once you find that grip, and again, this could get pretty intense pretty fast. So we're here and we're gripping, and in the most uncomfortable lounge chair you've ever been in, start to release your head back like you're in a lazy boy, helping to keep that top elbow back. And let's do that breath work here to create space in our shoulders. So we'll take a nice inhale and open mouth. Good. Now wiggle your fingers a little closer together, getting a tighter grip. Good. Let's do it one more time. Inhale and exhale. And one more time. See if you can, oh, there's my fingers together. Again, keep your head back, chins up, finding your breath. We're not going to be here very long. This is a very vulnerable pose. Our chest is very exposed, which makes our nervous system antsy. It gets a little chaotic. So we use our breath. It's very important to keep your breath nice and calm here. We'll do one more deep breath together. Inhaling and open mouth, exhale. And we'll release our bottom hand down, top hand comes down, and let's just shake our hands a little bit, shake your whole arms, maybe even loosen through your shoulders a little bit. That one can be pretty intense and pretty vulnerable. So we only did it for 2 minutes. We're going to do it for 2 on the other side. So this time it'll be your left hand holding that hand towel or strap, and you're going to swoosh around your body, bringing it behind you. Right hand goes out, thumb goes down, and bend it behind your back. And then start to wiggle your fingers closer together. I had a teacher who had really long hair, and she used to use her hair as her band, but that always seemed a little stressful to me. So I never do that, even though my hair sometimes gets in the way. Leaning my head back, really opening through my chest. Let's do a breath. Inhale and open mouth. Wiggle those fingers together. Do it again. Inhale. Open mouth. Wiggle those fingers together. This side definitely is a lot more tense for me. I definitely use a lot more work here. And this is not uncommon. We do very different lives sometimes from our right to our left hemispheres. So we want to just be aware that it's okay to not mirror one side to the other just because your fingers clasped on one side. Maybe it's uncomfortable. I can feel my fingers touching a little bit, but I'm just going to go ahead and stick with my hand towel because it's more accessible and it allows me to stay here. And again, I don't want to compromise my breath. I want to be able to breathe comfortably. And if I can't catch my breath, then I'm not getting the benefits of the pose. I'm causing more stress than release in my body. Let's go ahead And do one final breath together. Nice deep inhale. And open mouth. Good. Release that low right arm, top arm, and just shake out. Oh, that feels good on that side. Oh, a little wiggle, wiggle. All right, we're going to flip back over real fast into a tabletop and do some breathing here. So getting into that tabletop, we're going to do some cat-cows. So as we inhale here, we're going to drop our belly, bring our heart forward, and our gaze goes up, rounding our shoulders away. And as we exhale, our shoulders round towards our ears, our back arches up, and we're pushing the floor away. Chin comes to chest. And rotate those shoulders back as you inhale, drop the belly, heart forward, chin up. And exhale like a cat, curling up, pushing that floor away. Nice, good stretch. One more time. We'll inhale and exhale. Inhale to a flat back. We're going to come down onto our forearms, start to walk our knees away from our torso, and drop your hips down, coming into a Sphinx pose here. So stay where you're at. I'm just going to come face you. So your hands are going to be basically making a number 11 in front of you. If you're looking to get the right alignment here, you could take your fingers and put them in opposite elbows just to make sure you got it. Your shoulder and your elbows are going to be in alignment. If it feels good, you can start to bring your elbows forward a little bit. This just helps ease some pressure. You could also take a pillow or a block and just wedge it between your chest here and have your hands on the floor. If that helps you, sometimes this can be very tender on our back, really opening up. So we're going to just add a little bit of pressure into our thumbs and our pointer fingers just to prevent our hands from curling up. And we're going to press through our hands and our forearms, allowing our shoulders to drop away from our ears. Shoulders go back and down. Your heart is coming forward and down. Heart comes forward and down. And then you're going to gaze forward. Follow your gaze up the wall to that point where it meets with the ceiling. So we're not dropping our head back, but we are gazing up. Again, we're pressing through our hands so they don't curl. We're finding our breath here. And we're really hitting the upper and mid part of our back, really working on the thoracic spine. This is an area of the spine that doesn't get worked too often. So when we hit this area, we can really start to open up and improve things like back bends in our life. And we spend so much time curling forward. This is a nice alternative. Gaze is soft. Again, your heart is coming forward and down. Now you're welcome to stay here in this more active version of Sphinx, or if you'd like to go into a more passive version, you could drop into your shoulders. You could even let your head hang. I like to take a block and rest it on my head. I'll come to the side to show you. You keep doing what you're doing. This just allows my neck some relief. It carries around the weight of my head day after day after day. And this is just a good way to offer it a little more release and relaxation. And in yin, a lot of the benefits come from stillness. So be aware of that. If your body's wanting a little bit more here, you're welcome to bend your knees, letting your feet go up towards the sky. You might even softly start to rock your feet side to side, giving you a nice massage through your low back. Eventually, you could just let your feet come to rest together, or you can bring them back down to the floor. Whichever version you have decided to do, we're going to move our block out of the way. We're going to start to widen through our elbows, stacking your hands one on top of each other and lowering your head down. Full release through your low back. Let's go ahead and do 3 very mindful breaths here. We're going to take a nice deep inhale into our low back and exhale. Deep inhale into our mid back and exhale. And one final deep breath right into the backside of our heart. And exhale. Staying exactly where you are, take your right knee and just start to glide it up on the mat so it's even with your hip. Making a 90-degree angle there. And you're going to take your hand, your right hand, and you're going to bring it up towards 12 o'clock as though you were a clock. You're going to take your left hand, you're going to start to glide it under your right armpit, walking it all the way over, either letting your head come to rest, that right ear onto the mat, or taking a block and resting it under your head or a little pillow. And breathing here, just a few rounds. I'm going to open up into a twist here, so listen carefully. You're going to push your left hand and forearm into the mat, just to hold them steady, as your right hand, that's at 12 o'clock, is going to start to glide your body open as it moves to the 3 o'clock position. You might need to readjust your hips here a little bit. And for me, my right shoulder doesn't come all the way down, and you might find your arm hanging out up here. So you can take a block, place it under that right knee for support, helping you to glide that right shoulder a little further down towards the mat. Your gaze can be straight up, it can be to the left, it can be to the right. It's really whatever feels best for you. Really, in the spinal twists here, it's a really good opportunity as we find equilibrium through our left and right hemispheres to let go. See where you can do less. Really bring the floor up to meet you, using the supports, using the blocks, using the bolsters. If you want, you could take your left hand and rest it on top of your right knee. And finding your breath, noticing your breath, spending time just noticing your body move naturally from the inside out, taking you gently in and out of the twist. Take 3 final deep breaths here. Let them be slow and mindful. Really letting your natural rhythm sway through you. And at the end of that third final exhale, your right hand, that's at 3 o'clock, will start to come back up around, and your body will come all the way back. And we'll drape our left hand back down, using your hands as a pillow. Right knee goes back down, head towards the mat. Again, let's do 3 final breaths here. Nice deep inhale. And exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more deep inhale. And exhale. We'll go ahead and move to the other side. It'll be your left knee this time that just draws up even with that left hip. Left hand goes forward. And as I turn away from you, my right ear is going to come down to the mat. It's really starting to rain outside. It's really soothing here in the studio. Let's go ahead and open up. So this time, it'll be your left arm at 12 o'clock. It's going to start to rotate your body open. I'm going to move just so I can see me better here. Moving my hips. I'm going to bring that support under my knee. Hand goes on the knee. And then I can bring my left shoulder down. And again, I'll reconnect with my breath. Letting the soothing sounds of that rain outside. I hope you can hear that. It's beautiful. Go ahead and begin your 3 final deep breaths here. Not rushing through them. And at the bottom of that third exhale, we're just going to roll back onto our back. So bringing that left leg over. You might roll off your mat here a little. You can just guide yourself back in, and we'll set up for our final Shavasana here. So our legs will be long, our arms will be long. At the end of a yin class, if you have a pillow or a bolster, it might feel really good to place it under your knees here. Arms go long. Shoulders roll back. And breath is steady. This is one of the master poses. It's, again, something that appears so simple, but is really challenging to just lay and do nothing. Very often it is undervalued and skipped during people's yoga practices, but just to give yourself some time here. You've just created all this beautiful space in your body, and you're just giving your nervous system time to start to integrate as you notice how your body feels. And as you keep your breath deep into your belly, notice on every inhale where the breath is moving. And with every exhale, just melting further into the mat. And start to wiggle through our fingers, wiggle through your toes, dropping your head from one side to the other. Just starting to wake your body back up. Might feel good to stretch your arms up overhead, stretch your legs long. And exhale those knees into your chest, hugging them down, maybe doing some rocks from side to side. It might feel good to reach for your feet and just do a quick little happy baby passive stretch here. We're going to roll off onto our side body and push ourselves up. We'll finish class together in a seated position. Again, you could sit on a block or a bolster. We're only going to be here for a moment, so if you prefer to sit on the ground, that's fine as well. Take a moment, we'll just settle in, down through our sit bones, elongating through our spine, shoulders roll back and down, chin tucked, gaze is soft, and bringing our attention to the tip of the nose and noticing your breath. Noticing how alive you feel within the subtleness of your body. We'll close class together on an inhale. So we circle, sweep our hands high into the heavens. Bringing our palms together in prayer and then exhaling down through heart center. Bowing to yourself, sending gratitude to showing up and doing the work. It's truly a pleasure to have you here with me. My name is Mary. I'm with Breath Mindset. Breathe well, my friends.